not. Bastards.
On.
All right.
Please upgrade to premium subscription on X. I have a premium subscription.
Have you logged in?
Yeah. Let me see. More technical difficulties. Gotta love it.
Always love it.
Let me try.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus. Technical difficulties. All right, let's see. Let's try.
Let's try.
I am premium.
I'm throwing these headphones in the trash after this.
I'm throwing this whole thing in the trash.
That too. Yeah, I've only got mono. That's fucking stupid. I don't have mono. I mean mono instead of stereo. The kissing disease.
God. Save changes.
Oh.
I'm premium.
I am premium?
Please upgrade to a premium subscription. Well, this is crap. Gotta like our viewers. I bet they're loving this. Thanks, Elon.
Yeah, blame Elon. Connect your YouTube account to join the live chat. That's new.
Geez, more things?
Like I went into go into comments and I have to join the live chat and like log in through YouTube. Interesting. Oh, I just changed my thing. That's right.
All right.
Update password. Sign into StreamYard. Yeah, I can do that. Yes, I trust StreamYard. Ah! Where did Tyler go? God damn it. Well, in the meantime, enjoy the view. Running into some technical difficulties. Always fun. If you're watching out there, how the hell's your Tuesday going? It's rainy and shitty here. Good times, good times. Viewer connectivity. Ah, you're back. I can't hear you. Oh, just a lovely Tuesday. Starting almost a half an hour late, hopefully. Wait,
All right.
Hey, I can hear you.
We're just gonna roll
Okay.
because this Twitter thing is being ridiculous. Thanks, Elon. I want my money's back.
I want my monies. Give me my monies. All right. Give me a few seconds and we'll roll into it. We're at the 5.5 minute mark. Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour. Some technical difficulties today, but we're here. It is Tyler. It is Doug. We are here to bring you some news. And we have the fantasy football multiverse of madness, Doctor Strange style. Tyler's got some scenarios he's going to run by me, and I'm going to give him what I think are going to be what's actually going to happen. A couple different scenarios in the multiverse of fantasy madness. Fun little new concept that we cooked up this week because we're always cooking up new stuff. It's like Breaking Bad over here. You ready to cook, Tyler?
Yeah, after all this technical difficulty crap, I'm ready to do anything. I'm just ready to roll, ready to throw my computer, ready to go up to Elon and tell him, hey, why isn't Twitter allowing me to do videos when I upgraded to premium? I should have a blue check mark too. Like that's where I'm at.
Maybe they're just behind because he cut like so much of the staff, so they'll get to it when they get to it.
Yeah, maybe next week we'll be on the tweets.
Yeah. Keep your eyes peeled.
But yes, this multiverse of madness that we came up with, I'm actually going to give you a scenario and we're going to act like it happened. And then you're going to give me what you're going to do as said player. That's what I'm thinking. So
okay,
I've got a couple
so much
in
madness.
mind.
Now we have it all. We have it all straightened out.
By the way, Doctor Strange, my favorite Marvel character. What's yours?
I mean, I gotta go with the OG that started the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's Blade.
Blade, yeah, that's always a good one.
Still the best opening scene of any Marvel movie in the club. Absolutely amazing. For 1998 when that came out, that was the song was perfect, the action was great. Just Blade is awesome. So
and Wesley Snipes is like if there was a person that was like perfectly hired for a part, Wesley Snipes was it.
Yeah, he was great. And Blade 2 is phenomenal. Blade 3, we don't talk about that so much. It wasn't all that great. But Blade 2 was directed by Guillermo del Toro, who has gone on to do all sorts of Best Picture nominees, and he's an amazing director. So fun fact, because I'm full of fun facts, especially when it comes to movies. Let's go into some news real quick. We've got a couple of things. Training camp is starting to wrap up. I know the Patriots, I think, only have a couple, 2-3 more public practices. And then we're going to get some games over the weekend, and we'll have some. We've had some chippy practices between teams. I know the Lions and Giants keep getting into it over there quite a bit, which is always fun. Dan Campbell's team biting kneecaps off, if you will. But we've got some news on the trade front. It looks like Brandon Ayuk might be on the move finally. It looks like the two final teams are the Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots. The Browns offering Amari Cooper plus a pick or maybe two for Brandon Ayuk, and the Patriots offering Kendrick Bourne and a pick or possibly two for Brandon Ayuk. And it's really supposedly up to Ayuk to choose between the contracts that supposedly the Browns and Patriots have offered. Interesting because if you move Amari Cooper, that's he's making a good amount of money. If the Niners take on old friend Kendrick Bourne, he's only making about $7 million. So from a salary perspective, and the Patriots can afford it, they have the most salary cap room still available, even though they paid all their guys to come back. And they need a number one receiver. Cleveland, I mean, they're in good shape with Amari Cooper. He's obviously a little bit older, so maybe Cleveland's thinking for the future. He had some offseason where he wasn't super happy with his contract, but he's in camp. So interesting here, Tyler, from a dynasty perspective, where would you like to see Brandon Ayuk go? To go with Drake May for the next 4 years, or to go with a Deshaun Watson for the next handful of years?
So last night we talked about this, and I said I feel like it's the Browns. And then I thought about it later on that night, and I thought Patriots are perfect because he is going to get funneled targets if he goes to the Patriots. And I'm a big Drake May stan. So I thought to myself, this helps Drake May exponentially. Like, this is awesome for him. And it also puts Jalen Polk into a role that he should be in. He should not be an alpha. He is a perfect number 2. This is perfect scenario for Patriots. They go from the worst receiving core to an actual like basketball team style receiving core. All they need to do is figure out their whole line. I think Drake May is going to be fine. The Patriots, if they make this move, they could jump like pretty good. Like I don't think they'd be the worst team in the league if they went and got Ayuk.
No.
And yeah, I actually really like this move because we saw the I forgot the coordinator's name that took over for the
Van
Patriots. Yes, he funneled targets to Cooper. So if he has
And the
a
tight
one,
ends.
yeah. So if he has a one, he's gonna funnel it to that one, and I think that's perfect for Ayuk. So if it's about money, Ayuk's going Patriots. If it's about the thought of winning and the defense that Cleveland has, he could go there. But if he was doing that, he would have just stayed in San Fran, who's been to the championship so many times. So I personally think that it's about money. And if that's the case, I think he's going to be a Patriot. But it's like you said, it all depends on if another suitor comes forward or if he's just like, screw it, I'll just sign with San Fran.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting if he does go to the Patriots. Their offense, you got Ayuk, you've got Polk, you've got Baker, you've got Demario Douglas. That's a pretty solid top 4, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You got a lot of youth there, so they're not going to age out or anything like that. You have Hunter Henry, who's a little bit older, but in Van Pelt's system, he's still one of my favorite buys. If you're a contending team, go get Hunter Henry. He's still dirt cheap, and he's going to have a big year. He's been doing really well in camp. And then they just signed Ramondre. So, again, it all comes down to the offensive line, but the pieces are there for success, not only for Jacoby Brissett to start the season, but Drake May to eventually take over. So I do like that. Getting an alpha wide receiver is hard. Especially for the Pats who haven't ever really drafted one. So
my favorite part about this is I think the two teams Ayuk wanted to go to are out. That's my favorite part about this.
Really Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I think he wanted to be with Jane Daniels, which would be a slam dunk for Ayuk too. But yeah, the Commanders like, yeah, we're good. And same with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's like, yeah, we're not giving that.
Yeah. So yeah, let's see what's going on in the trade market right now. So we'll see how that unfolds in the next handful of days. Obviously, with training camps starting to wrap up, the public training camps anyway, it would be good for him to get moved so he can learn the new offense during the preseason. Couple injuries. DeAndre Hopkins is going to miss multiple weeks with a knee injury. Looks like he may miss the start of the season, so keep an eye out on for that. So I think that rises up Tennessee's pass catchers a little bit. They've signed Calvin Ridley in the offseason. They have Chika Okonkwo. Treylon Burks is still on the roster.
I was going to say, I mean, he's making plays, but this is what he does. He makes plays in spring training and camp.
And then he gets small during the season.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's going to miss a little bit of time. Puka Nacua got banged up in a scrimmage. So he looks like he's week to week, but nothing serious, according to Sean McVay. So those are a couple injuries from the wide receiver perspective to keep an eye on. I know you redraft guys are going to be starting your redraft league soon. So if Puka slips a little bit, I'm totally jumping on that. But I'm interested to see in the preseason, if Puka doesn't play, how Jordan Whittington does. He's been a really buzzy name out of Texas, who I know a lot of people have added because you've listened to this podcast for the last month or so. Hopefully you've added him on your roster as your waivers have started to go through in dynasty leagues. So keep an eye out and see how he looks, because I think he's a sneaky ad, especially if he's still out there. If he's still out there, you have to add him at this point. So make sure and go and get him. All right, Tyler, you're going to kick off this segment.
All right.
I'm just here to answer I'm here to find my way through the fantasy football multiverse of madness.
So AJ Brown, he comes into this year. He had an outstanding 6 games in a row. He has an outstanding 12 games. He is the wide receiver 1 of the year. He's 28 years old in 2025. And his value's through the roof. AJ Brown, what are you doing going into 2025 season with AJ Brown?
So if AJ Brown finishes as the wide receiver 1, at that age, there is other competition for targets there with Devonta and everything. I like AJ Brown, but I've never been a huge AJ Brown guy. I respect his talent. I think he's a really good player. I think he's a top probably 6 or 7 receiver in the league. But if I've got a receiver who just finished as the wide receiver 1 at the age of 28, I know he's tied to Philadelphia for a while. I am probably going to look to move him. When you look at guys as they start to get a little bit older, and this is dynasty, we've seen it with Devontae Adams. He's still productive at age 30. So that AJ Brown could still be productive into his age 30, 31 season. But if I can move him, if someone's willing to pay me 2 firsts or if I can tear down at wide receiver and add a first or something like that because AJ Brown just finished with this epic season, I am going to look to move him and grab some pieces from my roster and try to slowly turn it over. Because if you had AJ Brown at the wide receiver one, you were probably competitive, maybe you even won the league, right?
Yeah.
But if I can take that and churn it over for a receiver that I like, that's 22 or 23 that I can have for the next 5 or 6 years and get really good production out of, and then add a piece on top of that, that would be my move. Unless my team was a lot of veterans that was clearly a win now team, then maybe I would hold. But my gut tells me that I would try to flip AJ Brown for a tier down for a younger piece and add something on top.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of my thought. Now, AJ Brown, his favorite player, like how he emulated his game after, was Julio Jones. His career is Julio Jones-esque. Like, Julio had massive, massive games, and he'd have his 4 for 40s, but he also had that lingering lower body issues.
We saw the wheels fall off on Julio
very fast.
Yeah.
Very, very, very fast. And yeah, I mean, I love Julio. He's one of my favorite Falcons of all time. And I remember there was a time in a league when I sold him at 27, and I was like 3 years too early. So there is a situation where you run into, like, you still got 3 elite years left that can win you a title. But the thing where I'm trying to hit at with this game is value, the value change, because once he hits 29, you're going to start seeing that value go lower and lower, like we saw it with Stephon Diggs, and how his value was like skyrocketing at 28, and then all of a sudden he hit 29, 30, and
yeah, I think the exception to that is like Tyreek Hill, right? Like, so at 28, people might have been moving off Tyreek, and then he puts together monster seasons in Miami, and now he's signed for another 3 years. He's a guy that, like, yeah, if you traded him at 27, 28, you traded him a little too early. And here's the thing. Tyreek Hill is a more dynamic player than AJ Brown. He was voted the number 1 player in the NFL by his peers, which is pretty amazing. So I think Tyreek Hill is the exception to the rule. But I think, when you look at history, it tells you when a player like that, with the things that are going on, that it's smart to move him at that age. And sometimes, like you said, it could burn you, but that's the risk that you have to take.
Yeah, like Devontae Adams, when you trade him at like 29, it may have killed you because he's been solid, and you may have only gotten like a first and a second for him because he's going to a different team and all that. But I still think he's got a solid 2 years. Like Larry Fitzgerald was another example. They're very rare, but it happens. All right. Do you want to do a scenario, or should I give you another?
Give me another.
All right. Malik Neighbors goes off. He has the best. He beats Puka. Has the best rookie year by a wide receiver by far. Marvin Harrison Jr. has a good year, but not quite as good. So Malik is, like, I'd say scoring wise, he's a top 5 wide receiver, and let's say Marv is wide receiver 10. And your league mate comes up to you and says he'll give you Malik Neighbors, but he wants Marv plus. What are you doing in this scenario?
I am not overreacting, because here's the way that I look at it. I think Malik Neighbors, we both said that Neighbors has a higher ceiling than Harrison. Yeah. Because of his electricity and his game-breaking speed and his ability to separate and create big plays. He can take a slant and go 80 yards easily. I mean, Harrison probably could too, but it's not his game. For me, Neighbors, I wouldn't do that. If anything, I would probably look to acquire Marv and trade Neighbors and get something plus. Like, if that's the move for me, because I think Harrison could easily have an elite 10 to 12-year career, where Malik, not to say that I'm concerned, he could have a nice, like, 8 or 9 year run as well. But, we've seen receivers in the past, have an elite rookie year, and then 3 years down the road, like Odell Beckham Jr., they run into injuries. They just can't get on the field. And that's not to say that's going to happen with Neighbors. I just think Marv is such a safe floor player that if his rookie year, he's 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns with 90 catches, and Neighbors goes 100 catches for 1,500 and 10 or 12,
Yeah.
People are going to look at Marv and be like, what a disappointment, when you should really be like, they both had amazing rookie years. And the thing is, quarterback play, Marv is going to be tied to Kyler Murray for a while. We don't know the future of the Giants quarterback. It's Daniel Jones right now. Maybe they draft a guy next year, which as of right now, the quarterback class doesn't look all that great. Maybe they sign a free agent. There's a lot of question marks there. So for me, I play Dynasty. I'm risk averse a lot of the times. I'm like give me the safe floor guy that I know I can rely on long term over the flashy prospect that, may be not a flash in the pan, but, he has a little bit more risk to him. I would go after Marv. I would take Marv. I would not give up Marv plus to get Neighbors. I think that would be silly and foolish if you were to do that. Because if Marv has that kind of rookie year, you won. Like, that is great. You shouldn't compare the two to each other. They are very different players in very different situations. So I would not do that. And if anything, I would try to acquire Marvin Harrison Jr. If that were to happen, because Neighbors is going to be the buzzy name. People are going to think Marv's a disappointment because he wasn't the number one receiver. We know how people in the Dynasty community think, and they'll be shitting on Marv. He'll fall down in ADP. Oh, he wasn't as good as we thought he was. But like, even though he still had a great year. So that's how I would approach that situation.
Okay. And the whole entire scenario reminds me a lot of Mike Evans and Odell, like you brought up. Odell had an extremely good rookie year, like one of the best. And Evans was steady and good. He still had a good year. But right now, who would you rather have? Mike Evans or Odell Beckham?
Well, seeing Odell Beckham Jr. is on his like 4th or 5th team, and Mike Evans is still on the same team, and they just extended him, and all he does is have 1,000 yards every year. Yeah, I think I'd take Mike Evans.
Like nobody's like, I got Mike Evans. But throughout the years, I was a big Mike Evans over Odell fan, and I took him at 101 in a lot of leagues. Mm-hmm. I was the person that was happy with what I got. Like, it was like 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. Sometimes he had the 5 touchdowns, but like, he was steady. And that's what I liked about it. Like Odell, he started getting hurt, and that's what that you can run into that. But all right, I got another scenario. JJ McCarthy comes in for Sam Darnold and pretty much replaces Kirk Cousins. He is awesome in every aspect. He has a good rookie year, not quite CJ Stroud, but we're talking like, I'll say 3,900 yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He's showing promise with Justin Jefferson. He comes in, takes over, and just is elite. Anthony Richardson has an up and down year with a couple tweak hamstring injuries and such. But he's still around the quarterback 8 or 9 overall. But the injury thing keeps popping up. The owner of McCarthy comes up to you and offers you McCarthy straight up for Richardson. What are you doing?
This is a good one. I'm not a big JJ guy, but if you were to prove it on the field, here's the thing. Straight up, I would not do it, because both you and I know that even if Anthony Richardson has a decent year and is banged up a little bit, people are still going to pay because he's a rushing quarterback. So people are still going to pay. You should be able to get JJ McCarthy plus in this situation, because the allure of the rushing quarterback is what keeps his value so high. And we've seen, it's been like the summer of Anthony Richardson, by the way, in the dynasty streets. I've seen his ADP go through the roof. In Scott Fishbowl, he was a top 7 pick in a lot of leagues because of his rushing ability. A lot of smart people are predicting him to the moon this year, which I can see it. The offense is good. The line is good. Like, if he's healthy, he averaged the most fantasy points per game, per dropback in the league last year. I know it's a limited sample size, but the allure of Anthony Richardson is enticing. Knowing me and the way that I do dynasty, if I had Anthony Richardson and someone came to me with JJ McCarthy, I'd be like, well, that's not good enough. I need McCarthy plus in order to get Richardson. So I would not do that deal straight up, even if McCarthy looked like the second coming of Kirk Cousins, because I know that rushing capability and that athleticism and all the things that go with that is going to insulate Richardson's value to keep it sky high. This is what we've always seen in Dynasty. if a quarterback can run and be that dual threat, like look at the guys that go off the board first: Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson. That's all I need to say. They always have that value because of what they can do with their legs. And that's if Anthony Richardson plays 9 games and he's lighting it up and then gets hurt, his value will not be that affected.
I wanted to bring this up. There's a method to my madness,
Ooh.
multiverse. CJ Stroud, his value is crazy through the roof. Quarterback, top
And he
5
can't
quarterback.
and he doesn't even run.
Exactly. That's my point, is people are overlooking that. And I think the thing with Joe Burrow that we're seeing and forgetting that when Joe Burrow is healthy,
he's a beast.
He runs and he throws like 4 touchdowns a game. He's efficient. Mm-hmm. So in order for Stroud to hit in the top 5, we need him to throw 35 plus touchdowns. We need him to kind of be like Jordan Love last year. Like I could have used him as an example as the guy who doesn't run but throws a bunch of touchdowns, is efficient. But yeah, this is kind of what I want to bring up, because I know a lot of people are like, hey, if I've seen Richardson, if he gets hurt, I've heard his value just pretty much plummets. It's done. Like I've legit heard that on a podcast, saying that he's Justin Fields if he gets hurt again, which I don't think that was Justin Fields' issue. It was his throwing. The
line was also awful too.
Yes. So I just wanted to bring up that despite him being a running quarterback and him having injuries, which I honestly think his injuries are just like, you can't repeat them. Like he did a flip and hurt himself. Okay, he dove for the end zone and hurt himself. Like these things are just him putting in maximum effort in. But the way he landed it's almost like Tua. Like Tua had concussions that were like, okay, it was just because you landed awkwardly. That's not his fault. So for me, I think with Richardson, we're overlooking the injury thing. Yeah, he's going to get tweaked, but that's what we are here for. We're here for the running. Like in the offseason, I offered Jane Daniels for Richardson with Dynasty Rich. We made a trade, and I thought of it like, hey, I'm going to take somebody who's got 40 extra pounds on their body that can take the beating, rather than the guy who I saw on tape get smoked and smoked and smoked. That's 100 and probably 95 pounds. I mean, I've heard rumors that Jane Daniels drank a ton of water before his weigh-in, and he's easily sub 200. So
that wouldn't surprise me.
That's my worry with Jane Daniels. I'm not going to bring him up in this, but I just want to bring that up with JJ McCarthy because his hype is going through the roof right now. He looks great in camp. I'll be honest with you. His velocity, his arm strength is showing out insane. Like he was the second hardest thrower in the combine this year, next to Joe Milton. But yeah, like he's got a cannon and he's accurate. He just needs to kind of learn the nuance of everything. And and he's still young. So Doug, I will turn you one of these days into a JJ McCarthy fan, but I'm with you. I'm with you on this one. I would easily still take Richardson just because it's fantasy football. In real life, JJ McCarthy, yeah, 100%. I'm going to take the guy that can win games and isn't turnover prone and can be on the field. But in fantasy, it's Richardson. All right. You want one, or should I give you another?
I'll do one. I just thought of one.
Okay.
So in the multiverse of madness, we saw Brock Bowers typically go around between the 105 and the 108 in tight end premium league drafts. The multiverse of madness, Brock Bowers ends up being second most targets on the Raiders. He ends up with 80 receptions, almost 1,000 yards, and 8 touchdowns. He gets to Kyle Pitts levels of fervor when it comes to his dynasty position and becomes the tight end 1 in dynasty fantasy football. Because it's so interesting to me because I was able to get Brock Bowers in a couple of auctions and I got him at a pretty good price, I thought. And I think because he didn't work out, he didn't have a pro day, he wasn't at the combine.
He looks like an insurance agent.
He does. People forget that this guy is the best tight end prospect we have ever seen come out of college football. Better than Kyle Pitts, better than Travis Kelce, better than Mark Andrews, better than Sam Laporta, better than anyone you can name that I can think of. It's been Brock Bowers. He was the feature of the offense for Georgia for years. He should have won the the Mackey Award in his freshman season, but didn't somehow. Then he won it in his sophomore and junior, like an elite prospect. And I think that, because he's gotten forgotten, that a lot of fantasy managers will regret this madness when Brock Bowers finishes as a top 5 tight end in his rookie year. We saw it with Laporta last year. We saw what rookie tight ends can do. Dalton Kincaid is a top 5 tight end now. Luke Musgrave is trending upwards. So the madness says that you are mad if you did not draft Brock Bowers, and you will regret it.
Okay. Is there a scenario you want me to play out, or are you just trying to say that he's going to be
Well, the scenario
elite?
was like the scenario was being second on the team in targets, finishing with
Okay.
about 1,000 yards, 80 catches, and 8 touchdowns.
Well, all things are showing that in camp he's uncoverable. He's a monster. Nobody can touch him. All defensive players, Christian Wilkins is saying like this dude is legit. You can't cover him with anybody. Corner, linebacker, safety. There's nobody that can cover him. Yeah, he cuts. He cuts like a wide receiver. A lot, like Michael Lombardi even said, he's like Jordy Nelson in a gigantic body, which is a perfect
I'll take
explanation.
that.
Yeah, that's perfect because Jordy Nelson was elite and he was a great route runner, strong catch point, everything. So, yeah, I think Brock Bowers. Honestly, I would not be shocked, especially if Adams keeps being unhappy. There's a chance that Bowers could destroy rookie records.
Yeah,
Because he could just be the focal point. All right, I've got one. Bijan has another year where he shares carries with Tyler Algier. This is going to be on the negative side, and it's with my team. He shares carries with Tyler Algier. Algier has like 8 touchdowns. Bijan has 8 touchdowns. He still has like 60 catches, a good PPR back, but he doesn't eclipse 1,000 yards rushing. It's like 800. It's more like an Alvin Kamara-esque role. Where are you putting Bijan Robinson at the end of the year? Are you putting him at RB1? Or are you sliding him down? And let's just say Christian McCaffrey kind of falls a little bit. Breece Hall has a Breece Hall style year. Jonathan Brooks, let's say he gets 1,000 yards, but only 40 catches. We'll say Jahmyr Gibbs has 1,000 and like 70 catches. Where are you going to put Bijan?
That is a great question.
If you're starting to see history repeat itself with a new coach.
Here's what I think will happen before I tell you where I'll put him. Just like we saw with Kyle Pitts, right? Great rookie season. Even though he struggled in year 2, people still had him ranked super high. So people will still see the potential in Bijan because he's a great running back and he's a freak athlete. So I don't think the savvy people will have him slide down all that far. I don't think he'll be the running back 1. I think if Breece Hall has the season that we think Breece Hall could have, I think he'll be the RB1. Obviously, with McCaffrey getting a little longer in the tooth, we could see a guy like Jonathan Taylor jump above Bijan because I think Taylor's going to be primed for a big season.
I've got one to include in the multiverse.
Okay. So I think that Jonathan Taylor...
Devon Achane stays healthy.
Let me finish.
I know.
Devon Achane in a minute.
I was going to say, I'm going to include it with this because I want to see where you'd put. So, like, Achane stays healthy. He doesn't get the full workload, but he gets 15 touches a game. But he's still explosive as can be. People say Jamal Charles. They whisper Jamal Charles. Would you put Achane over Bijan?
No.
Even if he had, if Achane had 13 touchdowns, what if he had 1,600 rushing yards with 170 carries? Insane.
I mean, that would be banana land. Let's say more numbers. Reasonable. Let's say if Devon Achane had 1,500 scrimmage yards and double-digit touchdowns, would I put him above Bijan? If Bijan finished with
kind of the same numbers,
scrimmage yards and 8 touchdowns,
same numbers, yeah. But the offense look like, what if, let's say Atlanta and Miami's offense are both elite. They're both great. They're both awesome. But
I'm
they
still
just
going to take the more talented player, and I would still
okay.
go with Bijan because I'm not
See,
an Achane guy.
yeah.
I'm
You
just not an
notice I'm
Achane guy. I
targeting.
would go with Bijan.
You
Yeah.
know I'm targeting a lot of players you don't like.
Yeah, no, I see that. So to get to where I was, so Bijan, even if he has a disappointing season, he's not going to slip that far in the running back rankings because people see the forest through the trees with Bijan. They know that he's a great player. And Algier, if I'd be surprised if he ended up splitting carries, but if it happens, it happens. So I wouldn't have him fall too far. Maybe he goes from the RB1 to the RB3, maybe 4 if he has a really disappointing season, which I don't really think will happen, or if he gets injured, obviously. But I could see a guy like Jonathan Taylor jumping up because we all like the freshest of seasons, and Jonathan Taylor is only a couple years removed from a 20 touchdown season. So Taylor, who I think is a value right now, he could jump up. You got Gibbs as well if he has another really solid year, or if he builds upon his rookie season. You could see Gibbs even maybe going over Bijan because the people love the way that they use him, and maybe he's a little bit more electric than Bijan because of the way that the offense is schemed under Ben Johnson. So, yeah, I mean, I'd move him down a little bit if that happened, but I don't think he's going to have like this precipitous drop or anything like that. And I would still rank him over Devon Achane all day long.
So in my head, Bijan can go one of two ways. We saw Christian McCaffrey have above average rookie year. He wasn't what we all thought he was going to be. It was okay, but he shared touches. And then second year, McCaffrey became McCaffrey. So Bijan could either be that, or he's just going to wash, rinse, repeat, and just be RB 8 to 10. I think Jahmyr Gibbs or Achane could be like the RB 1 or 2 if they stay healthy and are efficient with their touches like they were. Achane destroyed the 2 weeks. He got touches and was efficient and was healthy. He was Jamal Charles. He was that guy that we're like, okay, this is a guy that needs 10 to 12 touches and we're fine. And Gibbs, I think they're going to involve more in the passing game. We're going to, in my opinion, this season, we're going to see a lot of running back movement throughout the rankings. I think, in my opinion, I think Taylor is actually going to fall a tad bit because a lot of these guys are going to go up. I think Jonathan Brooks is going to end the year very, very well. And he's going to be up in the top 6, top 5, maybe even because he's so young. If we see Breece Hall get hurt again and say, God, what's the rookie that they have that I'm blanking on?
Allen.
Yeah. And all reports are he's cut a little weight. He's looking electric. And say he comes in and becomes like a Jonathan Taylor like player, which he was pretty much
same school.
Yeah, same school, same style of play, same build, like just youth. What if he comes in and all of a sudden, they're like, okay, Breece, we're going to split carry. Like, what if there's a lot of scenarios I think can happen, but I think this running back market this year, especially right before this really good rookie class that we have coming in for running backs, there's going to be a huge mix up, which we need because we've needed it since 2017.
Not only that, I think it's the time to buy running backs in Dynasty. We've seen their value get to like not an all-time low, but I think that, when you look across the board at some of the running back stats from last year, I think that the running back market is set to bounce back. So I think we're going to see some really big running back performances this year. So if you can buy some of these top tier running backs at the prices that they are right now, maybe like RB1 through 12 or 13, I think you can get them at pretty good prices. I think you'll end up being rewarded handsomely for that at the end of the year. Is my what my gut tells me.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many wide receivers. We've seen it. Like the field is just overpopulated with good wide receivers. Wide receivers I can get you through. Like Chris Olave, I'm not a massive fan of, and he's like wide receiver 18 for me, and he can put up wide receiver 1 numbers for you every week. Yeah, and this rookie class coming in, I think is going to be filled. Like me personally, let's get into it. I got one more for you, Doug.
Okay.
Keon Coleman. I'm going to hit another guy you're not a fan of.
Yeah, okay.
Keon Coleman. He has an outstanding rookie year. You know how I mentioned Malik Neighbors having the best rookie year? Keon Coleman is behind him. He's ahead of Marv in stats. He has, let's say, like 1,300 yards, 11 touchdowns, and let's say 70 catches. He's more of a big play guy than we think. He's catching everything. He's just got strong hands, which we've seen at camp. He's making all the and he's getting along with Josh Allen, which is, I know it's weird to say, but that was my connection why I started like Keon Coleman, because their attitudes just meshed together, and I just felt like they're gonna have an instant chemistry. And he just pretty much subs in for Diggs. Where are you gonna put Keon Coleman? Like, let's say somebody comes up to you and says, let me see, who's going ahead of Keon? Oh, Xavier Worthy. He had an all right end of the year, came on late, but showed promise. Somebody came up to you and said, okay, I want your Keon Coleman. I'll give you Worthy and an early second in 2025 for Keon Coleman. Are you taking it?
Give me 1 second. I mean, if Worthy has an okay season, I'm still skeptical because they just have a lot of targets there in Kansas City. I would probably I would probably be, you know what? I'm going to eat crow. I'm going to say that I was wrong about Keon Coleman. And I would probably hold if he finishes with a season like that.
Yeah, me too.
Because, Xavier Worthy's nice. And does he have monster upside? Yes, potentially, for sure. But it's a bird in the hand. I already know what I have with Coleman. He's attached to Allen, who's not going anywhere. And they can only further build on that rapport. So if he has that kind of rookie season, like, I'm going to hold. Because a second-round pick, like, to me, a second-round pick, especially if it's like a mid-second, or that is like the land of hit or miss. I've hit on some receivers in the mid-second. I've missed on some receivers in the mid-second. Same thing with running backs. Like, to me, a mid-second isn't enough. Like, and you're not going to get Worthy in a first for Keon Coleman, I don't think, unless Worthy falls on his face in his rookie season like Sky Moore did or something like that. So I would hold tight and I would hold on to Coleman because, you know what? I probably drafted him with a late first or an early second. And to me, he's exceeding that value. And that's the kind of players that, like, I want to hold on to, because if he continues to trend that way in Buffalo, he's only going to get more valuable. So I would take the piece because you're getting the best player in that deal, or you already have the best player in that deal, rather. So I would hold on to Coleman, and I would say, you know what, I was wrong, which I'm not afraid to do. If I have an evaluation on a player and it doesn't work out, I'll be the first one to tell you, like, I didn't see it and I was wrong, because that's what we have to do in the fantasy space. You can't just point out all the things that you pump your chest and be like, I got this right. And then being like, oh, I missed on Ishmael Zamora. I'm looking at you. You know who you are. Type of players. So for me, if I'm wrong, like, as much as I pump Sam Laporta, I'll take an L on Samaje Perine and Leonte Carew and some of the other guys that I liked in the past. Dante Moncrief. I'll take an L on those guys because, you know what? Like, that's what you have to do. You have to admit when you're wrong. And hopefully Keon Coleman proves me wrong in this scenario. He definitely would.
Yeah, everything I've seen from camp is everything I thought he would be. I knew he was like, somebody said in the camp, like, okay, I get he's not a separator, but Josh Allen can throw in front of him and his arms are so long. That's a separation. Like, that's his separation. His arms are so long and his hands are so strong that he can catch anything that's around him. So Josh Allen can just throw him open, which is, I mean, Josh Allen handpicked him for this. So, yep. And my
just like he handpicked Dalton Kincaid last year.
Yeah, and my favorite part about this is Keon Coleman is 20, just turned 21. So he's young. He's still got room to grow. And yeah, I'm very excited for him and happy I got him in a couple leagues. So those are kind of my scenarios. There's so much more that can happen. And I was just at work thinking, like, what if this happened? Like, I'm going out and training for Jalen McMillan everywhere right now. I told you that last night because I'm like, what if Godwin is kind of burnt out? What if he's not the player we all thought he was going to be? McMillan is hyping all around camp. And what if Baker just absolutely loves him? So that's kind of my reasoning with getting Jalen McMillan, and I loved him coming out. So yeah, I'm just throwing these scenarios in my head and thinking, what if?
Yeah, no, I like it. It's been a fun episode. Something different that we haven't done before, which I'm always for. So that is great. So that is going to wrap us up this week. Tyler, thank you for your multiverse of madness ideas. I know mine was kind of off the cuff and not as quite as spirited as yours, but that's okay.
Hopium.
Yeah, hopium. You know, I just want to, like, point out that, like, I think people are going to regret mid-season,
Oh,
they're
I
going to be
do.
like, why didn't I take Bowers higher in the tight end premium league? Like, you fools.
Yeah.
People were taking Kyle
You
Pitts at
fools.
102, 103 in tight end premium. Like, how does Bowers get to 108? Like, I don't understand. Make it make
Bro.
sense. I understand this draft class is very good,
Yeah.
but like, Jesus Christ. So, anywho, I'm just glad I was able to secure him in a couple of auctions, which made me Moss happy. So that's going to wrap us up for the Dynasty Happy Hour this week. We've got some games this weekend, so we'll be able to give you some circle back. If there's any injuries, if there's any more trades going on, we'll be able to bring those to you and we'll give you some of our observations from the first round of preseason games next week on the Dynasty Happy Hour. We'll see you then.